Everybody, I'm Tasha with the Major Change Group, and today we're going to be talking about, can you have too many credit cards? Let me know in the comments, how many credit cards do you have, and do you think you can have too many credit cards? Now, in January, I actually opened up 2 credit cards in one day: the American Express Hilton Honors credit card and the Citi Advantage Platinum credit card, taking me up to 14 credit cards. I don't necessarily think that you can have too many, but the other day I had did a video where I was talking about Dave Ramsey and Mark Cuban was talking about credit cards make you poor. And so then I thought about all the credit cards that I had. I was like, oh my goodness. No, I don't think credit cards can make you poor. It was so funny. But I do think that they have a point. Overall, they're stating, if you have a lot of credit card debt, especially with the interest rate, then yes, it's going to make you poor because you're paying interest on credit cards. So the thing is, should you have 1 credit card to 14 credit cards or 35 credit cards or no credit cards? So let me know in the comments, what do you think? So when I was making that video, I had forgot to mention, now one thing that I was thinking about that possibly could make you poor with credit cards is annual fees. Now you'll have to let me know, what do you think about that? Because I feel like if you have a lot of annual fees, but then you don't even have the money saved, just like, let's say 500 or 1,000, then why do you have a lot of credit cards that have annual fees? So I think that's kind of the logic in making sure whatever credit card strategy that you select, making sure that it's within your natural spending, and then you're only spending what you can afford. So I think that is very important when having credit cards. But for me, it's just really kind of leverage because, I'm going to love to be able to get the credit card so that I can use the points, because for 2023, I was able to, it was like a couple $1,000s with all my points that I was able to go on trips. And so you'll have to check out that video where I had went to Puerto Rico, and that trip, it was over like $3,000 or more. And I only ended up having to pay like $700 out of my pocket because I was able to use my cash back and my points to pay for that trip. And then I had went on some other trips because I had went to Vegas in December. So for me, I love to be able to use the points, but I make sure to pay my credit card off every month. So I think it really works for me. So you'll have to decide how many credit cards is really too many credit cards for yourself, because it really could be 1 or it could be 14. So you'll have to decide. Now let's take a look at the credit cards that I have. So I have 14 credit cards, and I think it's probably best to not have a whole lot of annual fees. But as of right now, I have $463 in annual fees. Now, next year, that's going to go up because my Citi Advantage Platinum credit card has a $95 annual fee, but for the first year, it was waived. Now, one question that I do get a lot with having multiple credit cards is, how am I able to manage having so many credit cards and not lose my credit limits? Now, y'all know that Bank of America had closed 2 of my credit cards, my Bank of America credit cards, because I was not using the credit cards. And so after that, I kind of learned my lesson, because I had not used those credit cards in probably like a year, several months to a year, and it didn't have a balance on a credit card as well. And so after that, what I started doing is pretty much using a credit card utilization hack, where I'm rotating the credit cards, because most of the time I'm only going to be using 2 to 3 credit cards at a time. But what I would like to do is, let's say if I'm using the Hilton Honor Surpass like I am right now, I will use that credit card, and then I will let either 2 to 7% report to the credit bureau. And then after it reports, then I will pay the credit card off so that I'm not paying any interest on the credit card. Because sometimes I do hear that well, you should leave a small balance on a credit card so that you can, gain, that's going to help you to gain credit. But I don't necessarily agree with that. Now, I do think that letting a balance report to the credit bureau can help, because it's going to show that you're using a credit card and that you are not, overusing it, especially with your utilization. But to me, as long as you pay it off before, without paying any interest, then you're good. So that's the main thing for me. So probably for the last 6 or 7 years, I have not paid interest on a credit card. And so that's why for me, I feel like you can have more than one credit card. So for me, it's just all about what you can manage. So I would say, like, my city reward. Well, it's not the city rewards because when I was trying to find pictures for all the credit cards, mine is actually the city thank you rewards. But y'all, I done had this credit card probably over 15 years, and this credit card has changed so many times. And so when I was trying to find a picture for it, I couldn't even find the city thank you rewards. Well, the city, thank you rewards. I was only able to find the city rewards plus. And so when I had the two Bank of America credit cards, so those I had over 15 years, and then I had the city thank you reward. So all three of those credit cards I had got around the same time, and I had for a long time. So when the two Bank of America credit cards did close, I was kind of scared because I'm like, man, that's gonna since they're closing, that's gonna mess up my length of credit since I had them for so long. And so I was like, oh my goodness. But I checked my credit and it didn't, because I still had the city thank you rewards card. So in my last video, I was talking about, like, would you close a credit card? Now, for me, I don't want my city thank you rewards card, since that's going to be my longest running card out of all the credit cards that I have. I would not want that credit card to close, because then it could impact my length of credit. But then also, since I'm opening up new credit cards, it really changes my average age. So although my length of credit is over probably 15 years, my average age is like 9 years. And I'm really going to have to check it, because since I opened up these two new credit cards, it could go lower. And so I really think, and when you go on to the experience site, it's going to say anything over 10 to 12 years. But I think 10 years, that's going to be a sweet spot for the length of credit. So yes, I am okay with closing credit cards, but I would say I would only close a credit card that's less than 3 years. I wouldn't close a credit card over 3 years per my length of credit. Now, if I didn't have a high length of credit, let's say if I had 5 years or less, then I probably wouldn't close any credit cards. So you really have to take a look at your credit profile to really run tests to see what you can do with it. But I would say, for the most part, it's very good to understand all aspects of the credit report. So that's going to be your payment history, your credit utilization, your length of credit, your new credit, and your credit mix. And so that's going to be able to help you to determine what aspects you need to build your credit. Overall, in my opinion, I think it's going to be a personal decision as to if you have too many credit cards or not. For me, with my 14 credit cards, I don't think that it's too many, because I'm able to manage those. So one, I'm making sure that I only spend what I can afford. And then two, for me, I prefer credit cards that have low to no annual fees, but I am coming around to the annual fee credit cards, because I do think that sometimes they have better perks. But it's going to be to where I'm analyzing it to see, are those the perks that they're offering for that credit card doesn't match my natural spending. And I think that's how you can pick the best credit cards for yourself as well. And then with me managing my credit cards to make sure that I don't lose any of my credit limits, I make sure to rotate my credit cards and report to the credit bureau, but pay the credit card off before I have to pay interest on the credit card. And I think those are ways to where I can manage the credit cards that I have. So you'll have to let me know what are some tips that you're using to manage the credit cards that you have, and how many credit cards do you think are too many? Do you think 14 credit cards are too many? And y'all, I'm still thinking about other credit cards to open, but I am also thinking about credit cards to close. But I won't be closing credit cards that are over, 3 years old. I would only close credit cards that are under 3 years, but it's going to depend on the credit profile. So let me know what you think in the comments. I hope that you found this video helpful. Please like, subscribe, share with a friend, and turn on your notification bell so you'll be notified when new content drops. I thank you so much for watching. Until next time. It's not a game.